Disease is mainly due to two main factors: deficiencies and toxicities. A lot of the deficiencies are actually due to the toxicities, but not all of them. And we can't ignore that. But when you look at the vast majority of our problems, most of them come from this toxicity side of the equation. And when we look at toxins, there are endogenous toxins that are produced within and exogenous toxins that we get from outside. And then when you look at most of our problems, they're mostly coming from those endogenous toxins that we produce ourselves. Our own waste matter is what ends up biting us on our butt, because we're not eating the right foods to begin with. That damages our filtration systems. Our bathroom gets plugged up, it gets dirty, it gets plugged up, it backs up, and most of our diseases happens when our lymph system backs up into our body. And if you don't understand how that works, then you're not going to be able to understand the truth about nutrition. Because once you understand that certain foods are going to damage this system and create excess waste in the body, which is then going to cause a disease, if you don't understand that, if you don't get that, then you're going to be easily tricked into thinking, oh, but these are cancer-fighting foods. And we don't want to look at which foods are cancer-fighting, although we have exogenous toxins that we have to worry about, and those might be beneficial for the bat. But what we need to know is that there are some food groups that don't promote cancer. Once again, once you understand the disease process, that disease is not an entity, it's a bodily process. And our so-called experts in medicine, our allopathic doctors, they don't understand the disease process. They think they have to interfere with it. And that's the last thing you want to do. You want to understand what it's doing, what stage it's in, and what it's trying to do. And if it's in the beginning stages where it's trying to cleanse the body, you help it cleanse the body. And you always begin, no matter where it's at, by stop polluting the body. That's our problem, is we're putting in the wrong foods to begin with. So most of our problems are coming from things that get inside of us that don't belong there, whether it's electromagnetic radiation, or whether it's a Twinkie, or conventional produce sprayed with pesticides. But mainly the problem we have is our own system that stops functioning properly. Once you understand that most of our diseases come from our own system backing up into itself, then you understand, well, how do I reverse all of that? And that's when you figure out the foods that you eat are also going to make sense relative to its bowel transit time. Again, we need to understand that the food that wants us to eat it is designed to keep our small fuel tank full at all times. See, we have two fuel tanks. A big fat fuel tank, a small carbohydrate fuel tank. Once you understand that, along with understanding the bowel transit time of our food and the disease process, you're going to see that what we're supposed to eat is obvious. When you eat the food that wants us to eat it, fruits, that cleanses the lymph system, it changes the bowel transit time of our food. It changes the ionic pressure in our colon itself. And it keeps our carbohydrate fuel tank full, so we always have plenty of energy. If you simply understood the small carbohydrate fuel tank that we store carbohydrates in our liver and in our muscles, it's a small fuel tank, and you don't want it to empty, which is how some diets work. They want it to empty because they know the body has an emergency mode to deal with what happens when we do that, and the body can still function. But a lot of people are using that, saying, look, I can do this and then lose weight. But that's an emergency mode. It's our backup system. You don't use the backup system because the backup system doesn't have a backup system. So we have a simple system. It's a small carbohydrate fuel tank. You want to eat foods that are high in carbohydrates, not low in carbohydrates. You don't want the fuel tank to empty. You want to always top it off. But you put in the food that we're biologically adapted to eat, that has the right bowel transit time. You don't want complex sugar. You don't want starches. You want simple sugar. You want amino acids. Or you want the fruit. And then you don't want the protein that's complex. You want the amino acids. So when you look at how our anatomy is designed, when you realize we had a small carbohydrate fuel tank, when you realize that we have long intestines and meat is going to take too long to go through there, too much stuff is going to be in there, it changes the ionic pressure, it pollutes the blood, that damages the kidneys, as well as the animals, that damages the kidneys. The kidneys not only filter the blood, they filter the lymph, which is the bathroom, and that's the disease process. So again, if you don't understand the disease process, that's number one. You'll never understand nutrition. You have to understand what causes the disease, and then you won't get tricked into having people say, well, this this is cancer fighting. No, the solution to cancer is not to fight it, it's to prevent it by not doing the things that create it. Most of the cancer we get is coming through our mouths from eating. But it can come from anything that doesn't belong inside of us. And there's a lot of things that we're subjected to right now.